Okay, I think I'm live. Hold on a second, guys. I think I might be live here. Just give me a sec. I think we are. Just check here. Second device, see if I'm actually live or I'm just talking to myself. Alright, we're live. Alright, how you going, guys? Or hello, Wolfpack, should I say? So we got 7 people in the chat. How you guys going? What do you want analysed today? Chuck in your questions straight off the bat. What do you want analysed today? Do you have any questions about cryptocurrency in general? Investing mindset, TA questions, anything you'd like, let me know. I'm happy to answer any of those questions for you. That's what this is all about. 1 second. Let me just sort out my chair here. Sort out my camera. Straight into it, I guess. Alright, so interesting times today. I know I always say, I think that's like my go-to kind of phrase when I look at a chart. Interesting stuff. And there is a reason for that. Because every time I look at a chart on a YouTube channel or a live stream, I'm purposely trying to make it a chart that is actually interesting. If it's just a stale chart, I'm probably not going to look at it. Okay, and that's very important to clarify because I don't want to sit here and look at charts that just mean nothing. And the reason why I'm saying it's an interesting day today, it's an interesting chart today, is because Bitcoin is in an interesting position, undoubtedly. Okay, but before we get into Bitcoin, let's just read some comments here. Maybe wait a couple minutes, a few more people to filter in. So what do we got in the chat here? How you going? Oh, we got an altcoin recommendation already. We can look at that in a second. Morning from Sydney. Link update would be great. Thanks, Sis and Woo. All right, we'll look at a few altcoins first, and then we'll get into Bitcoin. By the time we get into Bitcoin, hopefully we'll have a few more people here, and then we can start getting going. Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is the most important part of kind of the analysis. So you said Q reader, that's not coming up on CoinMarketCap, mate, so you're going to have to clarify that, unfortunately. We'll do Link quickly. Link is, a coin we're doing basically every live stream here. We have a lot of Link followers in the chat. And in the Wolfpack in general. I mean, I've done Link videos in the past, and all of which have done relatively well in terms of viewership and likes. And there is a Link community that is undoubtable, undeniable, and it is a strong community as well. So right now on Link, what we have is a pretty bearish rejection. Right, I think the last time we made a video on Link, we must have been down the bottom here, coming up towards this red line, but now we've actually progressed that move a little bit more. Okay, and Link has actually come up and rejected from that red line and started heading downwards again. So Link doesn't look particularly good just right off the bat. That is a very textbook rejection, and hence, due to the fact we've had a textbook rejection, I would say that we need to come down to around 13 USD. Now, this textbook rejection is coming from Bitcoin ultimately. Bitcoin has been struggling with the resistance line for a few days now, or even more than that, close to a week. And as that's been happening, Link has been doing the same thing. Link is heavily correlated to Bitcoin, whether you like it or not. And the way you see a rejection off this line is very similar to the way Bitcoin is rejected off of its resistance line, which we'll look at in a second, by the way. But Link is heading downwards towards $13. There's no doubt in my mind that will be the case just after this textbook rejection, and with the Bitcoin downwards price action, I think Bitcoin is going to head down a bit further as well. So nothing really here is going to redeem that. Nothing really here is going to change my opinions on that. We have a bullish MACD cross, but ultimately it's not going to play out because we're heading downwards too quickly. The RSI is double bottom, but ultimately the rejection means more than all of these things. Let's look at the volume right now, because volume is pretty substantial, and we can see that, well, we're trending downwards on the volume, even though we're in a downwards trend here. That would be the only bullish argument for Link. However, I think that that's not going to be enough. And volume is not an immediate indicator of immediate reversal. It's just a lagging indicator. And so, yes, I think that Link will be heading down towards $13. We'll look at Syscoin. Syscoin, yeah, sure thing. And by the time we finish Syscoin, we might just jump straight into Bitcoin, get that going for you guys. Because I know a lot of the reason why a lot of you guys would be here would be for the Bitcoin analysis, right? Bitcoin, at the end of the day, is the controller of the market. It controls everything. Okay, Syscoin, actually, interesting. Syscoin, I've done one video on Syscoin. And the one video I did on Syscoin was in November. And you wouldn't expect a coin to do this after November, because as you will remember, November was when Bitcoin started to go down, right? I did a video on Syscoin around here. And Syscoin just hasn't been affected by that in the slightest until recently, until the last week or so. And that was expected, okay? And looking at this chart, just getting a base level of analysis, what I can see happening here on Syscoin is actually very simple, right? What I'm seeing on Syscoin is that it's trending downwards towards the bull market support band. There is zero support in between here and the bull market support band because we moved up way too quickly, okay? And if you asked me about Syscoin a week ago, I could have told you the same thing. I could have told you that as soon as we lose this 50-day SMA, we're going to end up at the bull market support band. So as soon as we lost 80 cents, 89 cents, 90 cents even, it was pretty much guaranteed that Syscoin was going to come down to around 67 to the bull market support band. So this is why technical analysis is very useful, right? If you didn't have this chart, if you didn't have technical analysis in general, you wouldn't be able to identify these patterns. The pattern being, every time we lose the 50-week, we generally end up, not always, but generally end up on the bull market support band on the weekly and daily charts. So that's the trend there for Syscoin. I think Syscoin's heading downwards towards this bull market support band. Now, when it gets there, that would constitute a correction of about 50%, without any major upswings in price action. And so when we get to the bull market support, there could be a potential here for Syscoin. I think it actually will materialize for a small bounce, possibly back up to the 50-day. And the 50-day by that point will be trending downwards like this. And we'll probably bounce back up to like 70 or 80, right? 80 cents probably from around 67 and then reject further. I think that's what's next for Syscoin. But ultimately, yes, the bull market support band is 100%, in my opinion, next in the question here. Everyone on my Twitter feed is shocked by this price action. Yeah, it's like, was it really that shocking? I don't think it was that shocking. I mean, I was calling for this to go down for like days on end. I don't think it was that shocking at all. In fact, I would be shocked if it broke to the upside. There was literally no evidence for it, in my opinion. I mean, that's just me though. But yeah, thanks Dave for the comment there, mate. Let's look at Woo for a second, and then we'll see what the go is from there. Remember, guys, just keep chucking in your comments there. I'm happy to just answer as many questions as possible. As I've said before, and there's probably some new people filtering the chat right now, that's what it's all about, right? So just chuck in all your comments, all your questions that you have, and I'll look at as many of those as possible for you. I don't know why I can't find Woo. Is Woo new to TradingView? The new to TradingView? I don't think it's not new in general. I know that, but I can't. Let's see. Maybe it's new to Bitfinex. Let's go to Tether. Yeah, okay. So it's new to Bitfinex. Let's see if there's a better chart we can look at here. Yeah, there is. Okay, so I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. So let's look at Woo here. So Woo, been around for a while. I was very confused when I wasn't coming up on TradingView, but it was just the exchange. So yeah, it's been around for a while. Woo's like, what, top 125. It's got 30% of the supply in circulation. And just off the bat, we're running into some tokenomics problems. So in the last live stream, I would have made you aware of problems of tokenomics when excessive amount of coins are being brought into circulation, which naturally devalues the price of the project while not affecting the market cap. Because the market cap, for those of you who don't know, is basically more important than the price. The market cap represents every single dollar wrapped up in this coin. The price represents, the price of each coin. And so market cap is undoubtedly more important, right? You can have a coin that's worth 1 cent, but the market cap is higher than Bitcoin, right? The price doesn't reflect how much money is in the coin. It's just a kind of calculation, to do with tokenomics. So the point is, when you bring in excess coins into circulation and you don't have the buying momentum to meet that, or even if you do, you will see the market cap going up while the price is trending downwards. And this is what's happening with Woo coin straight off the bat. And we can see with 30% circulating supply, there's no real reason to think this is going to stop anytime soon. And so with that, just base level analysis, I wouldn't be interested in entering any Woo trade. And I think that the price action is secondary to the problems with tokenomics. And for that reason, I'm not even going to look at it. I don't think it's worth it. And if I did look at it, let's just look at it quickly, okay? If I did look at it, I'd see something like that, and I'd see a clear rejection from this line, a comeback up rejection, and I'd probably see us heading downwards towards the July support at around, 25 cents. So that's what I'd look at for Woo. It looks terrible, even if I looked at the TA, but the tokenomics look even worse, in my opinion, unfortunately. So I'm sorry to be harsh there, but that's what I do. I'm not just going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you it looks okay. It doesn't look okay, right? I wouldn't be trading this coin. I wouldn't want to be holding this coin in the slightest. Are you still thinking Bitcoin will reach for 20 to 25k? I know you're buying a lot of Bitcoin at the bottom, so would you buy in this cycle if it gets to 30k? And if March doesn't happen, could 30k be the bottom? Okay, so we look at Bitcoin now, I reckon. We've got enough people in here to look at Bitcoin. Yeah, Sam. Yeah, I do think Bitcoin is still going to 21 to 25k, although I would kind of remind you that my prediction is, as of current, really is actually 20k to 24k. All right, just a very slight adjustment. It basically means nothing, right? The point is, it's going to that region. It's going to that low to mid 25k region, in my opinion, right? That's my opinion. So yeah, I would still be interested. I don't know what's happening with my chart here. It's taking a while to load. Might be some internet difficulties here, but no, it's all good. It's just come up. I'll wait for some of the indicators to come up. There we go. Yeah, so I think it is still going there, and I suppose part of your question would be, would you buy at 30k? No. I wouldn't buy at 30k unless there was a actual consistent evidence for a reversal pattern, right? And that is possible. I mean, 30k has acted as the bottom on 2 occasions, but for something to act as the bottom on 3 occasions is, if it happens, that's excellent, but it doesn't really happen too often, I don't think, especially when you're looking at these longer term assets. Now, it could, as I said, it could very well happen, but if it does happen, there will be a lot of signs of it before it actually does play out. It will be something like here, okay, in May to July, where we see extensive consolidation on that region, as there's a lot of buying, selling contention in that region, right? So it's literally the line in the sand for Bitcoin. And so, when we get there, if there's a massive consolidation period and we start seeing bullish divergence and we start seeing volume decreasing in the downwards trend, you could make the argument that we're going to bounce off of that region. Now that argument could be made under the logic that we'll see a dead cat bounce, but ultimately I don't think it can be made under the logic that we'll see a recovery. Now, obviously, that's something we have to look in at the point in time, but the general kind of trend for Bitcoin and the general thing I'm heading towards is that we're going down, in my opinion, to the 200-week SMA. And for us to bottom anywhere else but the 200-week SMA would be abnormal, okay? I'm a trader, I'm an investor as well. I invest with the trend, okay? The trend is that every time Bitcoin loses the 50-week SMA, it ends up at the 200. That is the trend, okay? The trend, as you would know, is your friend until it ends, okay? And if you're buying Bitcoin before it reaches the 200-week SMA, you're ultimately telling the trend that, hey, you don't matter, and I'm just getting to go do my own thing. It's illogical. The point is, it's illogical, okay? So every time, as you can see, we lose this red line, which is the 50-week SMA, we end up at the 200. Every time. It's only happened 3 times. Even in the COVID drop, even in the panic of the COVID drop, it happened, right? All of these things downwards here, they're wicks, they don't matter. Okay, but the point is, we've never closed below the 200-week SMA. So we've lost the 50, everything's playing out the same way. Of supporting this, we've also lost the Gaussian channel, okay? That's a red Gaussian channel there. Every time that happens, we see we end up at the 50, at the 200. Okay, that's flipping red in just a couple of weeks here. Okay, and that will be another piece of supporting evidence. Now, another piece of supporting evidence would be the Ikomoku cloud. Okay, we've just lost that as well. So ultimately, if you're buying Bitcoin before you reach that 200-week SMA, in my opinion, you are investing against the trend. Now, if something happens, as I said, like if we go down to, say, 30k, and there's just so much evidence that we're going to bounce and it's just undeniable, yeah, well then obviously I'm going to consider buying. I'm not going to be an idiot, right? But as of right now, I'd still stand by the fact that we're going down to that region. 20k to 24k is what I think for Bitcoin. Let's go back to the Coinbase chart here, and we can get a bit of analysis on what's going on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I mean, if March doesn't happen, could 30k be the bottom? Again, it just depends on a 200-week SMA. So Bitcoin is kind of, in a rejection zone right now. And I've made this very clear. If you don't follow me on Twitter, this is not a shameless plug. Go and follow me on Twitter, because you will miss things if you don't follow me on Twitter. If you like my analysis, I'm telling you right now, you will miss important things that I say, such as, I think we're going to drop below this channel, or this wedge, sorry. You'll miss things like that. I can't make a video about every price movement. I just can't. It's too time consuming. And so some of the price movements I make analysis on Twitter. And so if you're not following me on Twitter, you're going to be missing out on some analysis, and that's just what it is. But if you don't want that to happen, the easy solution is follow me on Twitter. So what we're looking at for Bitcoin right now, and this is a shorter term time frame, is a clear rejection. Okay, this is a standing wedge formation. Standing wedge formations, as I would have explained on Twitter, break to the downside about 70 to 80% of the time. Maybe even more, right? Maybe even more. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's about 70 to 80% of the time they break to the downside. Now, when considering in conjunction with this ascending wedge formation, which already has a 70 to 80% chance to break to the downside, we have a long-term support line, this pink line here, acting as resistance to the top of the wedge and blocking us from breakout. We can say conclusively, or we did say yesterday, that this thing has a 95% chance to break to the downside, roughly. Okay, very clear, very concise, very logical. I don't see how anyone would be bullish going into one of the most bearish chart patterns you can ever see. Okay, the reason they were bullish is because they were drawing it like actual idiots, right? They were drawing it like this, not to be rude, but they literally were. They were drawing it like an ascending. Let me just delete everything so I can show you how these guys were actually drawing it and how you can manipulate the information so easily in crypto. They were literally doing this. They were saying it's a massive ascending triangle formation like that. Okay. It clearly wasn't an ascending triangle formation. I mean, the ascending wedge formation made a lot more sense here on Bitcoin. We had 4 tests of the top on the wedge. We had 3 tests of the top on the triangle. It's really as simple as that. There was no ascending triangle formation there. And what we can see is that we've broken the downside very, very easily here, as expected. And now what we need to be looking at is where is this break going? What is the target for this break? Well, it's quite simple, really. We have to take the first test of the top to the first test at the bottom, and we can get a measured kind of target for where this break would be going. And we can apply that to the breakout point, and we can see that this breakdown on Bitcoin from the ascending wedge formation, this yellow dashed line, is going to be targeting 33K, okay? And there is significance in that target. And if we actually bring it up to the actual closing point rather than the wick, you can see it's exactly targeting 33K. Things don't happen by coincidence in this market. Everything happens for a reason in this market. It sounds cliche, but it's literally true, okay? The breakout happened to a point where a conventional measured move would take us exactly to the close of the last previous lows. That is not a coincidence, right? It's just how it works. That is 33K. So I think that Bitcoin in the next, say, 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days, right? It really depends. It could be a week, who knows? But looking at the time frame here, I would say, it's looking at happening somewhere around here. So next 3 to 4 days, I think that Bitcoin is going to be at 33K, and I think it will have a potential at 33K to potentially, and this is a potential, form a double bottom formation. And I think that will be the next kind of hypey thing the bulls will talk about. Okay, notice how at every single support block, at every single resistance block, there is always one kind of chart that kind of stirs up massive attention amongst bullish people, right? People who think it's going to go up. And I think the next one will be a double bottom. Now, what I would say about double bottoms is people thought we were going to have a double bottom here. It didn't happen. They thought the same thing here. It did not happen. They probably thought the same thing was going to happen here as well. Did not happen. Okay? So if it didn't happen 3 times, why is it going to happen here? That's my question to you. I don't think it's going to happen, no. And if it does, if it does, who cares, right? I don't think it's going to take us to all-time highs. So that's kind of the simplest way I could put it. Now, I know we have some new people in the chat, and we always do. Okay, and I want to say, if you haven't watched these videos before, now you would have heard before, I think we're going down to the 200-week SMA, and that's going to be at around 20 to 24K, depending on when we get there. But I think that it's worth noting as well, on every video I do about Bitcoin, every talk I do about Bitcoin, that the 48K region is my critical invalidation point. So if we break 48K, we're inadvertently breaking multiple, that I'm bringing them up right now, multiple major resistance zones. So if we break 48K, we're jumping above all of those, and hence it would be reasonable to assume that a bull market is starting once more. But 48K, I will remind you, is a long way away. That 48K is a 30% gain away. And to get a 30% gain in a time of critical positions in the market, very, very difficult. So, looking at Bitcoin right now, it's very clear in a bear market, very clear in a downwards trend. Now, if we look at a daily chart, which we haven't done before, it just materializes even further. And we closed the daily candle 20 minutes ago. It consolidates in our mind even further that we've actually broken below that ascending wedge formation. Okay, and we can see that, well, we've had a bullish MACD cross already. And that didn't do anything, right? It literally took us like $1,000 to the upside. And now what we're doing is we're actually priming ourselves for a bearish MACD cross again. And we can see that the RSI has come up significantly here. It's come up from, let me check. It's come up from around 20 or 20 on the RSI, and it's come all the way up to 34 or even 41 at the peak of yesterday. And it's just kind of refreshed the indicators. So this is what happens in a downwards trend. You get little bounces that kind of bring up the RSI a little bit, bring up the MACD, and get them ready for another drop and dropping further than before. So the most obvious reason why this uptrend wasn't going to work, why it wasn't going to break this pink line, was because the volume was down. All we need to do is look at every single retest of the top of this pink line. We can look at this one here, and let me clear this chart. Let me clear this chart completely, actually, so you guys can see this very clearly, because this is actually very important. If you want to be effective at TA, one of the most important things you need to learn is volume, and we're going to apply that to Bitcoin right now and see what we can see. All right, I haven't looked at this before. I'm just going to look at it right now. What we can see is that every time we test this line, okay, circle here, we tested it there, we see descending volume in the upwards trend, okay? Another test happened here, descending volume in the upwards trend. Another test happened here, descending volume in the upwards trend. When you see descending volume in an upwards trend, volume going down on a day-to-day basis, I'm not talking the hourly chart, I'm talking day-to-day basis, you generally see that trend not be successful, and you see that trend reverse very, very quickly. And so until we see ascending volume going into this resistance line, there's no reason for anyone to be bullish, right? We literally, it would be very, very, very challenging to break to the upside without seeing ascending volume in the upwards trend. If you're seeing descending volume, you're generally just going to reject from resistance. And that's an important rule for TA. Everyone can apply that no matter how advanced you are in technical analysis. So, again, and this goes into it, we're still seeing as descending volume. And the vast majority of yesterday, even though this candle's closed red, we were in the upwards trend still. And so the fact that we've seen low volume just kind of further consolidates that the bulls are very, very weak here. No one's actually willing to buy that high. Okay, that's the problem. No one is willing to buy at those prices. There's not really too much to say about Bitcoin other than it doesn't look good. And I think that 33K, as explained before in the hourly chart, is the next step. And if we break below 33K, which, basically probably will happen, right? It's very unlikely it won't happen. We're heading to 30K. All right, and then if you look at 30K, it's held 3 times already. Do we think it's going to hold again, especially considering the argument to be made that we've dropped below the 50 weeks, so we're ending up at 200? No, I don't think it will hold. And so the next logical support below that, in terms of price action, is actually coming down all the way to this little block here, this tiny block at 24K. Could we hold 24K? Now, that's when you're getting serious, right? I think there is a very considerable chance that 24K could hold. But if we drop 24K, 20K is next, and that's where the 200-week SMA would be. So people like to think of, they like to say things like, you're saying we're going to go to 20K or 24K. That's a 30% drop away. That's a long way away. I would say that, yes, it's a 30% drop away, but there's basically no support between us and there besides 30K. If we lose 30K, it's going to happen, right? It's as simple as that. There's just no support there. It's just a massive gap in the support because we haven't actually trended in this region. We haven't traded in that region between 30K and 20K for a long period of time at all on a longer term scale. Literally nothing. So it's worth being cautious. It's worth noting that is a very likely, in fact, it is probably the most likely thing to play out on Bitcoin. Now, let's look at my other Bitcoin chart and we can wrap it up for Bitcoin here today and we can get in some questions you guys might have. Might be a bit of a shorter live stream today. Just letting you know. But what we're seeing on Bitcoin right now is the trend continuing quite clearly. We have this downwards channel formation, as you guys would be well aware of by now, and I've spoken about it many, many times. Let me try to fix it up so you can see it a little bit clearer. This descending channel formation is very much... Let me just fix it up a little bit. Sorry, guys. Very much prominent. And we're seeing that if this does play out, if this does continue to play out, we could see either the yellow scenario or if it doesn't continue to play out, the orange scenario. Now, the yellow scenario is based off of the 200-week SMA. Okay, and the 200-week SMA, I don't have it on this chart, would be in this yellow box, right, when we reach that region, if we continue downwards in this channel. So assuming the trend doesn't break, assuming we just keep bouncing, which is not really that unlikely, we're going to be reaching the 200-week in March. As early as March. It's a month away. Okay? Assuming we break out, assuming we see an actual, realistic, strong dead cat bounce, which again, is possible. I don't think the next couple of weeks, but it is possible. We will be breaking outwards. We'll be going probably towards 48K. And then when the Federal Reserve have a meeting about interest rates and we raise interest rates, we'll be dumping downwards and we'll be reaching the bottom between April and November. Okay, so the yellow scenario, we're reaching the bottom in March. The orange scenario, we're reaching the bottom between April and November. You might think, well, why April and November? That's a pretty big time frame, right? Surely I can be more precise than that. I actually cannot be more precise than that due to the fact we just don't have the evidence to be more precise. Now, I did have a chart. You can go back. I've talked about it so many times. I'll link it in the live stream description after this live stream. I did have a chart. I'm not going to bring it up right now. That kind of goes over the 4-year cycle theory and how it still very much is prominent for Bitcoin. If you disagree with me, go watch the video. I'm sure that will be an interesting thing. You might even change your mind. And that is kind of indicating that, well, according to multiple fractals that have played out over time, we're going to be bottoming out in November. And I apologize for not having this ready right now. but I do speak about it basically every Bitcoin video, and I'll link that below, so come back later. But that is the indicator telling us, hey, we're going to November before we bottom out. And so I'm looking at even March, or if that, so what I'm hoping for, sorry, I'll just clarify, what I'm hoping for is this yellow scenario. Because if this yellow scenario plays out and we just keep trending downwards with the channel, like, the trend is your friend, then we can get there very, very soon, within a month or a month and a half, and then we can bottom out, get everything ready, and we can start moving up again ASAP. Literally within the end of March, we'll start moving up again. Now, if the orange scenario takes place and we bounce up, we're just going to delay the process. Nothing really is going to happen on a macro scale. We're just going to delay the process, and it's just going to take much longer to recover. So, yeah, I am hoping for Bitcoin to keep dying. I want Bitcoin to go down as fast as possible. Okay, I don't think it's a bad thing. And if we do dead cat bounce, it just means we wait longer. No one wants to wait until November for something that's pretty much very, very likely to happen. And it could actually happen in March. It's just a burning time. That's 8 months down the drain, right? So hopefully it happens in March. Hopefully it happens very soon. I don't want to see this happening in November, but there is a considerable amount of information to support it will be happening in November. So you might say, what is my prediction? My prediction is I don't know. My prediction is one of these two scenarios is going to play out in terms of time frame, but my price prediction is we're going to end up at the 200 week. The date is just a little bit debatable. But these are the two scenarios I'm seeing. And just for reference, November, if you want to get a bit of perspective, November is all the way over here. So do you really want to wait that long? I mean, look at that on a yearly time frame. That's a long time to be waiting. I don't know why my internet's not working properly today, guys. I'm sorry, my chart's not loading in some sectors, but the point is, yeah, you don't want to wait until November. We hope it happens in March. We hope we'll just keep trending downwards here. So let's look at some questions. You're a star. Thanks. Appreciate that, mate. Question. Okay, let me try read this. How does one reconcile the bullish on-chain metrics for Bitcoin with the objectively long-term bearish price action on TA? It feels like cognitive dissonance, but I lean bearish. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I wish I could understand that a bit, but I'm not really understanding that fully right now, mate. But in terms of on-chain, I just kind of talk on that topic for a second. Hopefully I can answer your question here. In terms of on-chain, I think you're referring to the on-chain being bullish while the TA being incredibly bearish. Okay, the thing about on-chain data is there's no easy way to determine the on-chain is bullish because there's so many different charts. There's literally thousands of different charts, and you could say the same thing about TA. You could say, well, there's thousands of different indicators, but with TA it's very different because in TA, if 90 of the 100 indicators are bearish, you're probably going to break to the downside, right? It's probably a 90% chance you're going to break to the downside. Whereas on-chain, you can have the vast majority of charts being bearish and 5 charts out of the thousands being bullish and still break to the upside because those 5 charts have much more meaning in that specific period of time than those other 1,000 charts. And in on-chain as well, it's very hard to get a good demonstration of what is a bearish general on-chain kind of vibe or a bullish one because, as I said, there's thousands of charts. You simply can't look into all of those charts. Even these on-chain analysts, I think his name's Will Clemente, Willy Woo, all of these people, they're great analysts. They're very smart people, no doubt, but they look at on-chain excessively, and on-chain does not predict short-term to medium-term price action very well. Now, long-term, you could be a bit more confident with on-chain data, but in terms of what's going to happen in the next couple months, even you're looking at years when you're looking at on-chain. You can't get an example of when's Bitcoin going to bottom by looking at how many holders are holding Bitcoin and what is the wallet address is doing and it's too speculative. You're looking at too small of a percentage of those charts, too small of a percentage of its sample size to get a good indication. So no, I don't like on-chain charts. I think that they're supporting evidence only. I don't think they should be used as a major part of analysis. I think the technical analysis is undoubtedly way more important than on-chain analysis, 100%. Obviously, there are some charts that you should look at on-chain that are going to be helpful and useful, but to think that someone would be bullish because of an on-chain chart is just absurd. Ronco, you're amazing, mate. Thanks, mate. You donate like every live stream, don't you? I really appreciate that. You don't have to, mate, but I'll never ask for your money, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. I appreciate that, mate. So yeah, to answer your question, I think on-chain's a little bit too speculative, and that's interesting coming from someone who does technical analysis. It's more speculative than technical analysis. Thanks, mate, from Ireland. Appreciate that. Ireland, wow, that's a different part of the world. Don, is on-chain bullish because of this bearish phase? No, I don't know what you mean. On-chain data extends beyond whale buys dip. I'm 100% with Wolf, but one in his opinion. Yeah. Hey, mate, any words for those of us, wage slaves, only able to sling a couple hundred in the market every week, stick to BCC and FE, or would dollar cost averaging for the long term be smart? Okay, so what you're asking is if you don't have a massive amount of money to invest, what should you be doing? How should you be investing? And dollar cost averaging is generally the way I would kind of look at that. Now, I think that if someone doesn't have enough money much money to invest, a lot of influencers, a lot of people who don't really understand people in, potentially slightly poorer economic situations, they might not understand that if someone doesn't have much money to invest, it means they don't have much money. And they're at a higher risk of actually running out of money, which is bad. Okay, I don't think anyone wants to run out of money. And so I'm not going to come here and sit here and say, if you have not much money, chuck it all in some microcap altcoin that could do 1000x and you might be rich, right? Because it's possible you might be rich, but you might also be an idiot and go broke and just, end up chucking all your money every single week into coins that just get rug pulled, and it can just consistently happens and it never pays off, right? It's basically a slot machine. And so if you have not a large amount of income to invest into cryptocurrency or any financial market, I would always suggest you dollar cost average. I don't think if you have a small amount of money, it is the time to take speculative bets on altcoins, okay? Unless it is an altcoin season, but it's not an altcoin season, okay? Altcoin seasons only happen once every, very rarely. I don't know if there's a clear indicator as to when they happen, how often they happen, but it's very rare. It's in bull markets. We're not in a bull market right now. So, if you have that small amount of money every week that, say you got, $50 a week that you can invest, that's just off the top of my head, I would be putting that into something more, secure, like Bitcoin, which I personally think is secure. Now, if you don't think that's secure, you need to do that equation in your head yourself. But I think that if I was in that situation, I would be dollar cost averaging Bitcoin. Not only that, but I would be dollar cost averaging Bitcoin at a good price. And so, in my opinion, that would not be right now. It depends what your time frame is. If your time frame is 10, 20 years, yeah, go ahead, buy now, dollar cost average, do whatever you want. But, I'm not willing to wait 10 to 20 years for my investment to pay off fully. I want to wait, 3 to 4 months until we bottom out, or even 1 month. And then I'll start dollar cost averaging, then I'll start buying. But, it really does depend on your situation. It depends what you think about Bitcoin. But the way I see it, with dollar cost averaging, I don't necessarily agree with the mindset. I'm never going to hate someone for dollar cost averaging. Good on you. That's a good, approach to get into. It's good for your mental as well. But, dollar cost averaging kind of goes against technical analysis. And I'm a technical analysis first and foremost. So if someone was dollar cost averaging up here, okay, when it's pretty clearly going to break downwards, in my opinion at least, then it's like, well, okay, good job for doing that. But why wouldn't you just wait for it to break downwards? So my trader instinct always takes place, and that's why it never worked for me. But if it works for you, that's great. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing too risky stuff. At the end of the day, Bitcoin, people like to think Bitcoin has no returns anymore. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Bitcoin, 10x's, 20x's returns of traditional markets on a year-to-year basis. And so just because it doesn't have returns in relation to the new bloody dog coin, it doesn't mean it doesn't have returns. It has exponential returns, Because, risk management is always going to be very, very important. Any chances of an altcoin season? Okay, I've gone over this multiple times in previous live streams, but the answer is, of course, there's a chance, right? But if you're asking for my opinion on when it's going to, if it's going to happen, I would say it's not going to happen. I would at least say it's not going to happen in the traditional way we see an altcoin season. Traditional way into which we see an altcoin season. Sorry, I'm very tired. Is we go up 10x on every altcoin, everything goes to the moon. No, an altcoin season doesn't actually need to lead to altcoins going up for an altcoin season to happen. An altcoin season just means that altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin, and altcoins can be outperforming Bitcoin when they're going down. If altcoins go down less than Bitcoin, they can outperform Bitcoin. But if you're asking about a traditional altcoin season, conventional one, no, I don't think it's going to happen. The reason being, we've had a triple bottom on Bitcoin on the support, on the Bitcoin dominance chart. And when you see a triple bottom on Bitcoin dominance, you usually trend upwards. Okay, that's just, base level technical analysis. And so there's no reason for me to assume right now, unless we drop below 40% or 39%, there's no reason for me to assume we'll see an altcoin season. Now, if we come back here in a month and we've dropped below 39%, we can talk about it. But as of right now, I would not be betting on that. I would not be relying on that situation happening in the slightest. I don't think an altcoin season seems likely in this current state of the market. Altcoin season already happened. Yes, I would agree with you. The altcoin season did already happen. The altcoin season has happened. Now Bitcoin dominance, for those of you who don't know, is a measurement of the percentage of wealth in cryptocurrency in total in Bitcoin in relation to altcoins, right? We're at 41% right now, and that means that 41% of the money in cryptocurrency is in Bitcoin, the rest is in altcoins. When you see dramatic drops in Bitcoin dominance while the market is stable, you see an altcoin season because it represents a shift of money from Bitcoin into altcoins, okay? And we already saw that. For example, we saw that in 2017, where we had a massive drop from 67% all the way to 35% while the market was stable in 4 weeks. And that means that all of that percentage, all of that money was drained from Bitcoin into altcoins, and we saw altcoins go crazy. We saw this in May already. We saw this from February to May. We saw an altcoin season in which Bitcoin dominance dropped massively while the market was trending upwards. So we've already seen the altcoin season for the cycle. Yes, it wasn't as prominent, it wasn't as great as the one in 2017, but the simple reason is because there's more altcoins now than there was in 2017. Okay, and the money has to be spread out way thinner than in 2017 when there's only a few hundred altcoins. I don't know how many there was, I can't remember, but maybe 1,000, I don't know. When you're looking at a small amount of altcoins, when that massive shift of capital happens, there's not many altcoins for it to go into, and so everything's going to go 10x parabolic. Right now, there's simply too many that money's going to be split too many ways. And so, yeah, it has less of an effect. But yeah, I would agree, we did see an altcoin season already. And for us to see 2 altcoin seasons in one cycle is unlikely. And I think the cycle's over, right? I think we're at a bear market. That said, as I said, if we come down to this line at 39% in a couple of weeks and we break below it, we can talk about it. But as of right now, no. Can you look at CFX? No worries. Got some interesting questions there. I'm looking at them right now, and we'll answer those in a second. CFX. I haven't heard of this coin before. I'll see if there's a better chart I can look at. Potentially, it might have more information on CoinMarketCap, and there's no problem with me looking at that. So we've got top 300. So this is a pretty relatively low cap coin. I'd say it's probably a medium cap. Let's see how long it's been around. This thing's been around since 2020, and yeah, we don't have much data on TradingView here, so we might have to look at CoinMarketCap here to get a bit of a better understanding. But CFX, we can see it's just a general altcoin in which it's kind of just died a little bit. Everything I say here is not to be harsh on you. It's not to make you feel bad about your investment if you are invested in this coin, but it is to say that, hey, this thing doesn't look good, and that's just honesty, right? We've dropped below. We have no chance of a double bottom. Again, I can't look at this on TradingView. I'm looking at CoinMarketCap, so it's a little bit more speculative. There's just no charts available right now. But, we've dropped below kind of all support here at 10 cents. We've got some support here back in September 2020 at around 12 cents. But there's really not too much I can tell you off CoinMarketCap. Market cap, there's really not too much to say about this coin. It doesn't have a max supply. And so that means it can't be capped in how much coins are in circulation. You could run into some tokenomics issues as well. What's the volume like? The volume's like 8 million per day, so it's relatively active for its market cap as well, which is good to see. But there is a downtrend. There's no macro double bottom formation. There's no macro high, and we're just seeing lower lows here and just trending downwards quite sharply. So there's not too much I can tell you. I mean, I can look at the daily chart on TradingView, but it's not going to give me a whole history of the coin. It's just going to give me most of it. But in general, that was an accident. In general, yeah, we've lost this July bottom. And you see on altcoins, typically, if altcoins have any strength, they haven't lost their July bottom yet. And we can see we had a double bottom formation playing out shortly, but we lost below that as well. That happened only a week ago. So, yeah, I think we're going to drop down further on CFX. I can't tell you where we're going to go because I can't see the support zone from previous, times because it's not on TradingView. Hi, Wolf. What will be your plan once we reach a 200-week SMA? So, again, to the new people who are watching this for the first time, watching me for the first time, I think that Bitcoin is going to be trending downwards towards the 200-week SMA. So what would be my plan when we reach the 200-week SMA? Right? My plan would be to buy the hell in. It's quite simple. My plan would be to buy the hell in. Now, how would I do that? There is a strategy to it. I'm not just going to brainlessly buy it for 200-week because I understand that just because something has happened in the past, just because we've stayed above it in the past, it doesn't mean it's going to happen now, especially when you're going into a time of intense economic crisis in the USA. And interest rates being risen in March, major thing, hasn't happened for many, many years. Okay, and when it does happen, it typically leads to market correction. So, we'll look at the stock market in a second here, but to blindly assume that we're going to bottom out on the 200-week is the most rational thing we can do, the most logically consistent thing we can do, and it's what I'm doing. But I'm not going to go all in as soon as we touch it, because I understand there is still potential we can drop below it due to the fact that, well, this bull market hasn't been as bullish as other ones. So what's to say the bear market can be as bullish as well? Bear market could be way more bearish, right? We could drop down below this. We could. But as for what I think I'm going to be doing, well, what you can see on the bull market, on the 200-week SMA, typically, is that when we see the 200-week SMA play out, we see very clear signs that I don't really have available here, but I have looked at in the past, and I will bring them up closer to time. Very clear signs that it's going to be bottoming out. And what we generally see as well is consistent closes above the 200-week. So maybe, I might look at something like, well, when we close a couple times above it, consistently we wick below it a few times, and we get eaten back up and we close above it again. I might buy back in, and I might buy 25% each week every time we're there. But I don't really have a consistent strategy of it right now. Right now, I'm just concerned about us getting there. When we get there, I'll talk about the strategy. But ultimately, I think that, it is a good place to pretty much go all in on Bitcoin, in my opinion. I mean, if the historical trend has anything to say about it, it's a really good place to go on Bitcoin. All in on Bitcoin. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question too precisely there, because I simply need the evidence when it happens, right? I need the data. I can't answer that question right now, because if we end up there and it still looks trash and the market still looks terribly bearish, obviously I'm not going to buy in. But right now I would say that's the most likely place we're going. Wolf, you predicted the lower region for DOT recently. Is it a good time to entry now? So I'm assuming what you mean is I predicted a region for DOT, it played out, and what you're asking is, do you think I should enter now? So we'll look at DOT. Now it is worth noting that I can't remember all of these analysis that I do. Okay, okay, so I assume you mean I predicted that DOT will break down of a down descending triangle, because it's a descending triangle, obviously, and now we're below that, and we've retested the blue line, and now would I say it's a good entry? And the answer is no, because I'm not trading altcoins right now. Bitcoin's going down to downwards trend. Why would I trade altcoins? You're just trading against the trend. But if you wanted to enter DOT, and if you liked trading against the trend for some reason, would this be a good entry? I don't think so. Let me look. Hard to kind of tell just off a base level analysis here. Very short-term price action, but volume's looking too, I don't think it looks good. Volume's low. We're below kind of everything here. Double bottom on the RSI, but we've seen that before. MACD cross didn't do much. Let's go to the 4 hourly. Let's go to the hourly, actually. We might be able to get a bit of a better example on the hourly. Yeah, so we're seeing bearish divergence on the hourly chart coming across here from February 1st to February 3rd. Bearish divergence, price goes up, RSI goes down, and that means that short term we look terrible, and that's why we've already started dropping here. We've seen a bearish MACD cross as well. Let's go to the 4 hourly chart now. We can kind of wrap this up and see what's going to happen. We can see we also saw a bearish MACD cross on the 4 hourly chart. Now, looking at the SMAs, right now we are holding support on the 50, but I don't think that will work. I think that DOT will swing back down and test this blue line again. Yeah. So no, I don't think it's a good entry. When we hit the bottom, what do you think will be the next moves? Consolidation for a while or bounce? Again, something I need to consider when we get there. I simply just cannot answer that question right now. I don't have the data available. What I can be pretty sure of is the fact that we're going to get there. Now, when we do get there, I'll really have to analyze that at that point. But usually we don't just see a wick straight off. We usually see some consolidation. So, if that's anything to go by. But it really depends on current market conditions at that point. Wolf, could you do TA on Cadena? I'm pretty sure it's Cadena. Is it not Cadena? Or is it Cadena? Let me see. It is Cadena. KDA, yeah, that's right. I thought it was Cadena. Okay. Looked at this before as well. Looked at this last time. And yeah, some progress has happened from last time, but just looking straight away on the daily chart, we're clearly acting as, rejecting here from the green line, which is a 200-day SMA, clear rejections, and we're clearly rejecting from resistance as well of $7. And so I think that I already went over this in the last video, but I'll go over it again. I think we're going to swing back down to the bottom of the wedge. Now, whether we break to the bottom of the wedge or not is a different question, but we could actually swing back to the upside. And as I said in my last time, I'm pretty sure I would have said this, we could actually swing back to the upside, and we could come up for a retest of the 50-day SMA. I think that's the most likely scenario for Cadena. I think that we will see an upward swing. Yeah. But I think that as of right now, what's next is a test of the wedge. Okay. Test of the wedge. And that's going to bring us down to around $4.10. So let me actually set a reminder here on Cadena. I wouldn't know it's right there. 620 seems reasonable to me. I'd probably go ahead and move that up a little bit more. I don't know why my internet's not working too well, but we'll move it up a little bit more. We'll say 660, and that would be above the 660 here. That would be above the 200-day SMA, and it would also be above or testing this resistance line, but it would also be above the wedge. I'll turn on my mobile data here because we're seeing some problems with the internet. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but it's not great on this end. Great answer, thanks, Wolf. No worries. How long do you think it would take for us to recover after it hits for 200 week? I think I just answered that. I'm not sure though. Yeah, so essentially I don't know. It's too early to say. Amazing work. Thanks. Hope Theta drops below $1. Okay, so I assume you want to be a long-term investor in Theta and you want to see Theta drop down significantly. I completely understand that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, Theta is one of those coins that, would be interesting for a long-term investment, of course. But ultimately, you need to be waiting for the time and seeing, what happens, when we get to that point, what it's going to look like. Because, would it drop below $1? Yeah, I think it will, right? I think it will. I think I think the highest we can go and, on Theta, if we go to a bear market territory, we will probably go below $1 in my opinion, but we could, this is probably a potential bottom out region. We could stabilize above, say, $1.40, which is this support block here. That's what it's referring to. We could do that. And that's a drop of around, let's see, 50% away. We think that Bitcoin's going to drop 40%, 45%. Theta's probably going to drop more than 50%, but it is potential that we bottom out there. So we don't have to go below $1, but, looking at what the trend is right now, the dollar looks kind of logical, right? I would say $1. I wouldn't say below $1. I'd say $1 because $1 is a psychological support zone as well. So we have to take that into consideration. So for Theta, where would I say the bottom is? Well, I'd say between $1 and $1. That's where I'm looking at. $1 to $1.40. Yeah. Amazing work. Thanks, dude. Make an update video soon on Digibyte. I'll just look at it right now. I don't see the point in doing many altcoin updates right now. There's just simply no point. They all kind of look bad. Now that's on a longer term scale. On the shorter term scale, some of them look great for bounces, as I've analyzed in this video, in this live stream, and in previous live streams, right? There's definitely altcoins out there that look good for bounces, but they don't look good for recoveries at all, really, because you can't expect an altcoin recovery when you're trending downwards on Bitcoin. It's just simply not logical. Okay, Bitcoin is controlling the altcoins, but Digibyte particularly looks terrible, and it sucks, really. It sucks. And why does Digibyte look terrible? Well, I've gone over this in the video before. Digibyte looks terrible, just like Nano, just like Bitcoin Cash. They all look terrible because they all do the same thing. They're all Bitcoin rivals, and I like Digibyte. First and foremost, I want to say that I like Digibyte. There's nothing wrong with Digibyte. I think it's great. But it still falls into the trap of being a Bitcoin rival, because the problem with being a Bitcoin rival is that when Bitcoin does not perform well, like it didn't do in this cycle. Now, some would say, well, it went up massively in this cycle. How could you say it didn't perform well? It didn't perform well in comparison to previous cycles, and people care about comparisons. They don't care about whether it did well or not. They care about how it did in comparison to previous cycles. And in comparison to previous cycles, it did terrible. Okay, and in comparison to previous cycles, not even taking into account returns, it underwhelmed us massively. Everyone thought 100k was going to happen. If you didn't think 100k was going to happen, you're one of the very few, because 100k looked like it was going to happen until very, very recently. Maybe October. And so, when we're looking at something like Digibyte, who's a Bitcoin rival and whose whole kind of project relies on Bitcoin, because if it's a Bitcoin rival and Bitcoin fails, Digibyte kind of fails as well, right? The whole marketing aspect is it's better than Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's trash, well, that's trash as well, right? And so when Bitcoin does bad, Digibyte does bad as well, because there's not much interest in Bitcoin, and so why would there be much interest in a Bitcoin rival? And that's the problem with Digibyte in this cycle. I really did think that Digibyte would have a better cycle. And, you could say, well, it did. It went up, let's see, 10x, it's great. But how many people did you think buy here in the bear market? Not many. It didn't go up 10x in a time frame in which a lot of people could have got in. It went up 10x in like 2 months, and then it just went downwards for 8 months. Okay, it's not a good cycle with Digibyte. Not a good cycle for many Bitcoin rivals. And again, that falls into the fact that, well, if Bitcoin's not looking good, Digibyte's not going to look good, because they both rely on each other. Or Digibyte relies on Bitcoin. Hope that makes sense. I wouldn't hold alts when Bitcoin's in a bear market. Exactly. There's no reason to hold alts right now. It's very counterproductive, very counterlogical. you're basically betting against the trend, and an investor's goal, the goal of an investor or the purpose of an investor is they're trying to make money, and the way you make money is not by investing against the trend, unless you're the guy from bloody The Big Short, and even him, he's right like once in his lifetime, and then he's wrong every single other time. So don't invest against the trend. Can you make an update for RLC? Sure. I will warn you though, I don't think it's going to look good. Really don't think it's going to look good, unfortunately. I do like RLC as well. Again, I've compared this coin in the past to being the project that's selling the shovels to the gold rush of which is the metaverse and gaming. And unfortunately, it doesn't look good. I wouldn't be even touching this with a long stick until the bear market, until we reach like 80 cents, which is where I think we're going to bottom on RLC. I'm not touching this thing at all. We might even bottom out, say a little bit higher. Let's say $1.13. Could be, we could bottom out $1.13. That's a pretty major support zone in the past, and that's about a drop of around 40-50% away. And so between like 80 cents and $1.13, I'll be looking to pick this up because I do like the FA, do like the fundamentals. I think it's got a use case that's going to be around for a while. But in current prices, I just don't think it's worth it. What's going to happen? We're not really seeing any bullish divergence yet. Volume's still considerable. Nothing here. Just off of those two things, that's all you really need to look at. Nothing here is telling me anything that's going to lead to a rally here on RLC. We don't really have any major support left as well. We have major support just below us at around $1.75. But other than that, it just looks like it's going to trend downwards, and I don't see a reason to get into this coin right now. But if you're looking for a long-term investment into an altcoin, first of all, long-term investment and altcoin don't really go together. Okay, it doesn't really make sense. By long-term investment, I mean one-cycle investment. Okay, long-term investment makes sense for something like Bitcoin, but with altcoins, it's like, well, we don't know what's going to be relevant in 4 years. Like 4 years ago, we didn't know the metaverse was going to be the big thing. Okay, we didn't know NFTs were going to even exist 4 years ago. So how can we predict that something right now is going to be a good long-term investment if its use case is based around one sector that might not even exist in 10 years? So when I talk about long-term, I talk about one cycle, which is 4 years. So a 4-year investment, or even less, right? Even just one bull cycle, which could be as little as a year, right? Long-term investing in altcoins on a traditional sense, which is like I'm in it for decades, not gonna happen. It's a very, very dangerous game. Very dangerous game. I would not be doing that at all. Oh, my throat. Talking for this long, man, I'm telling you, it really does wreck your throat. What do you think once the Nasdaq reaches its bottom? What's the price of Bitcoin you're looking at? So, well, ultimately, I think that everything is correlated, everything's connected in terms of traditional markets and Bitcoin. So, when the S&P 500, when the Nasdaq reaches their bottoms, I think Bitcoin will be at 200 week. Okay, that's just based off technical analysis as a whole. Everything here is connected. So I think, Bitcoin will be at the 200 week when the Nasdaq and the S&P reach their bottom. Now, we can look at the S&P in a second, but we'll just go through all these comments, get them all filtered out. 200 week SMA, sell everything inside your house and buy Bitcoin. That's exactly right, mate. Why don't you take shorts? Why you don't take shorts? Why don't you take shorts? Well, because I don't see the point in leverage trading. It's just like, you're going to get flushed out. All you need to do to look at, see if leverage is a good idea. I mean, it's not a good idea, right? All you need to do is look at this cycle right now. Okay, let's look at the daily chart. And you ask yourself a question, well, is leverage a good idea? Okay, what has happened in 2021? All we need to do to understand what has happened in 2021 is zoom out. 2021 has literally been the year, or was the year of nothing on Bitcoin. Nothing happened. We started at 30K, okay? And we ended at 30K, or we ended at 40K, okay? This is 2021. We're just ranging, okay? When you look at something that's a range, you have to think why it's ranging, because we've never done this before. In previous cycles, let's go to 2017, we did not do that. We did not do this, right? We did not do this. We were not ranging between this price and this price or whatever. We were going up, right? We were going up massively. The reason why this cycle has been much more difficult than previous cycles, the reason why leverage trading in this cycle is absolutely idiotic in my opinion, and I don't want to be offensive to anyone who does that, but in my opinion, right, it's my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, I think it's stupid, is because manipulation exists on a larger scale now, and the manipulation exists to leverage traders via exchanges. Exchanges have a motive to profit off of leverage traders by liquidating them, okay? There's an ulterior motive, okay? And when you're looking at an ulterior motive, you look at, why something might happen. The reason why Bitcoin's chopping around is because institutional investors and manipulators are chopping the price around intentionally to shake out investors and kind of confuse investors and make it hard to invest in, okay? And when you're looking at unconventional trends like this, you have to take into account that, hey, leverage trading is a bad idea because you're probably going to get flushed out. I mean, all you need to do on this chart is look at, any given week, and you can see one random long wick to the upside or downside, right? We had one here in January, a long wick from 34K all the way to 38K. That would have flushed out all of the shorts, and it probably was a very irrational price action. We had a long wick here from 46K all the way to 43K, flushed out of the shorts, flushed out of the longs, very irrational price action. That was within a month of the last one. We had the May drop, which happened insanely quickly, which was very, very manipulated, of course. Now, the drop itself wasn't manipulated, but the speed of the drop was very manipulated. We had a long wick to the downside here in April, between 55K all the way down to 50K. Would have flushed out everything there. Another one here, another one here, another one here, another one here, and another one here as well, another one here as well, another one here as well at the top, okay? All you need to do is look at the trend. How many long wicks are there that makes no sense? Well, there's plenty of them. And that's a reason to not use leverage, or especially high leverage, because you're going to get flushed out. Eventually you're going to get flushed out. You might have some luck in the short term, but eventually something is going to happen now more than ever in a market in which manipulation is prominent. That is going to flush you out. So I don't think shorting is a rational thing to do. No, I don't. I think that, especially in cryptocurrency, where you can make 10x in a month if you play your cards correctly, why do you need more than that? I think it's just greed, to be honest. And I don't want to be offensive. I think it is just greed. Let me look here. Not financial advice, of course. Just my opinions. And that's serious. I don't want people to think, obviously no one thinks this is financial advice. And I think people kind of laugh when, people and influencers say not financial advice. That's just what it is, though. It's like, I'm not giving you any advice. I'm literally just telling you what I think. Whether you agree with me or not, and whether you do something about that, is entirely up to you. I don't want to be responsible for your losses. I don't want to be responsible for your gains. If you make money in crypto based off something that I said, that's not my problem. That's up to you. Good job. That, pat yourself on the back. Don't pat me on the back. Maybe, respect me more for sharing the idea in the first place. But at the end of the day, you're the one who took the trade. You're the one who risked the money. You made the money, not me. I don't want to be responsible for that. Even to the upside. I don't want to be responsible at all. Where could Rose bottom out? I think we did look at Rose in the last video as well. You don't need. I'll get to your question in a mate there, Don, in a second there, Don. But Gonzalo said you don't need leverage to short. You can do 1x short, right? That is correct. You can. You can. Well, I don't know if you can do 1x, but you can do very, very low leverage. Again, I wouldn't know, but you have to do leverage. You have to do leverage. I mean, you can't short 1x. That doesn't make sense. I don't think you can, at least. Why would you be able to short 1x? That doesn't make sense at all. I think you might be referring to buying something like BTC Bear. Again, it's like, why? I think that every leverage trade you take, the whole point of leverage, you can't do 1x. No, the whole point of leverage is that you're taking leverage, right? And in order to take leverage, there needs to be a liquidation price in which your leverage gets validated and you give your money to the exchange, right? So yeah, no, you can't do a 1x short. Every single leverage trade you do will have a liquidation price. Where will Rose bottom out? We'll check it. I probably went over this in the last one as well, but we'll check it again. Rose. Let's go on CoinMarketCap as well. Oasis Network. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I uploaded a Oasis Network video. It got literally 10 views. It was ridiculous. The amount of it's very interesting to see some coins in which it's very high capped, 77 on market cap ranking, but no one cares about it by the looks of it, or maybe they just didn't care about my opinion on it. I guess. But Rose, again, it's on support, and it's on major support, and there's no reason for me to be looking at this and saying that, hey, I think it's going to drop down or whatever. Because I can't assume that. Because again, the trend is your friend, and I mean this quite literally, until the end. I've said it 25 times in the video. The trend is your friend until it ends. The trend is still upwards. If we drop below the line, where would I be looking at for support? Very likely we could drop below it, right? Bitcoin is correcting massively. We're in a bear market. I think that, yeah, we probably will drop below it, right? But I can't say that for certain until we do it. Where would I think we'll be going if we do drop below it? I'm looking at the support block here, between around 25 cents and around 20 cents. That's where I'm looking at for Rose if we do drop below. But looking at Bitcoin and getting an external view of the market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., the stock market, DXY, I would lean towards bearish on those things, and given that, I would lean towards bearish on Rose as well. Sorry, can't speak. I would lean towards bearish on Rose as well, and so I would think that we would drop below this line. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens at all. And so, although we are on major support, and typically that is a good place to buy, right now I think it's way too speculative to buy. I think that the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is we drop down, and we drop down towards 25 cents. So I don't think it looks good. Where could the bottom be in terms of a long-term bottom, where could the bottom happen? I think it could honestly happen all the way down here at like 5 cents. Coins like this where they go up really quickly and they're very much in the sky, doesn't mean they don't drop, right? They still drop just as much as other coins. I think that we honestly could go down to 5 cents. But like, logically speaking, like where do I think it could bottom? I think that the best case scenario is like between 13 and 11. That's looking at this support block here. 13, 11, between those blue lines. But right now, we're very much overvalued. There's no reason to be this high. Bitcoin's dropped massively. Rose is just kind of chilling. There's no reason to be this high at all. I don't think we deserve to be here, and I think we've got a long way to go. What about Gala coin? Check it out. And we'll jump into Ethereum after this in the stock market. There's probably not too much to look out there, but Gala, yeah, okay, so I looked at this in the last live stream as well. Same situation. We are in a period on Gala in which we need to be waiting to see what's going to happen. Now, we had a descending wedge here with this yellow dotted line. We dropped that to the downside, but I still would say we're in descending wedge formation. No, sorry, not descending wedge formation. I still would say we're in a symmetrical triangle formation. And so we need to be waiting. This triangle is going to play out for the next 2 days. Let's just simply wait and see what happens. Now, if we break to the downside, we're going to be going to like probably 12 cents. So that's the support. And if we break to the upside, we're going to be going to this resistance here at around 30 cents. That's what I'm looking at. I don't need to make a prediction because we're literally 2 days away from breaking. The direction is very clear when that break happens. If we break downside, we're going down. Break upside, we're going up. 30 cents, 12 cents, that's what I'm looking at. So keep an eye on that. But, it's not as bullish as it was. If it was going to be bullish, it would have broken this descending wedge to the upside. It broke that to the downside, and so we're very, very low right now. So the flushing that you explained in January, I was the victim of that flush short. Yeah, exactly, mate. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you, of course, but it's just such a dangerous game when you're playing with leverage, especially in a high volatility market like cryptocurrency. It's just so dangerous. And like seeing all the influencers, all the crypto YouTubers, Twitter users, whatever, encouraging that and advertising that, it's just incredibly dangerous, especially when you're speaking to people who have been involved in crypto for like 3 months. It's like, come on, man, like show some responsibility. That's something for experienced traders, not for newbies, unless you want to use it as casino for some fun, that's up to you. But if you want to actually make money, you don't want to be doing that. I can assure you. Check the volume profile on the weekly for bottom prices. Yeah, I agree. I generally do that. But with altcoins, it doesn't work as well because they haven't been around for a long period of time, especially when you look at altcoins that have been around for like 1 year and they've gone up straight away. But on Bitcoin, volume profile is very important. Yeah, of course. Hey, bro, I went all in on Bitcoin at 17K. I went all in 17K. Okay, so that's your money on Bitcoin at 40K. I think I should sell, take some loss, and buy back cheaper. Again, I can't answer these questions for you. YouTube influencers have made millions off of us in 2021. I would also kind of I'll answer your question in a second as best as I can. But YouTube influencers have made millions off us in 2021. Yeah, of course they have. Yeah, especially the ones that sell courses, right? And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think that it depends on the person and it depends on the integrity that person has. Now, if you look at someone like BitBoy Crypto, who just advertises rug pulls 24/7 and undiscloses them, doesn't even say they're sponsored videos, obviously you're going to have some problems there morally. But in terms of people making money, at the end of the day, it's the consumer that chooses whether things are going to be around. And if you're interested in cryptocurrency, you are basically choosing that those things will exist. And so I don't think it's the fault of the influencers directly. I think it's a terrible way those channels are run, and the opinions of which those influencers hold are terrible. At the end of the day, it's consumer choice. Why do you think BitBoy Crypto is massive? Well, it's because people choose for him to be massive. And at the end of the day, it just shows that people want the nonsense. Maybe not you guys. You guys seem a little bit more woken up, but they want the nonsense. They want the BS, right? If people like BitBoy Crypto has millions of subscribers and is getting the most views per day of any other crypto influencer, it means that people want to hear the bullshit. They want to hear that this is going to go to 100K in September
it's going to go to 100K tomorrow. You know, they want to hear that. And so can you blame the person for just filling the demand? I suppose you can, but, you know, I went all in on a Bitcoin at 17K. Sorry, I can't read today, guys. I'm very, very tired. I went all in 17K on Bitcoin at 40K. You're asking, should you sell and buy back cheaper? Very, very hard question to answer. It depends on your personal situation. How much do you need the money? Like, what do you have any bills to pay? What's the situation? Is that your life savings? Because it depends on your time frame as well. Are you willing to hold for like 10 years? Hard to answer, man. Very hard to answer. And it's not something I actually want to answer. You know, I'm not here to tell you exactly what you should be doing with your investments. I'm here to give you my opinions based on my personal situation. So my opinion is that, you know, at 60K, I was selling. That's my opinion. I'm not selling here at 30K, so I'm not sure what to tell you. You're like, you know, if I had money invested, you know, again, it would depend on my personal situation, how long I'm willing to hold. Like, I simply just can't answer that question, unfortunately. But, you know, I hope that, given what I say in my videos, given what I think about Bitcoin and what you think about Bitcoin, you can, given your personal scenario, personal situation, seek that clarity within yourself, because I simply just can't help you there, unfortunately. I'd wait for a dead cat bounce. Yeah, again, like, if you're going to say I'd wait for a dead cat bounce, I would argue that we've just seen one. I would argue that we're rejecting right now off of that dead cat bounce. I mean, we bounced up from 33K to 39K, right? That's like a bounce of like 20%, right? Let's see. 20% bounce. Yeah, that's a dead cat bounce. Like, just because the number isn't big, it doesn't mean the percentage isn't big. A 20% dead cat bounce, that's a dead cat bounce. That's a substantial rally. So I think, yeah, we've already seen a dead cat bounce. If you're going to be waiting for a dead cat bounce, I don't think that's a logical kind of thing. I think the question is, are you willing to hold through thick and thin for years, potentially, until you get back in profit? That's the question. If not, sell. If you are, don't sell. You know, that's my advice. But again, that's what I'd be doing, not for you, right? You need to make your decision. I sent you an image of a 1x short on Twitter. Just if you can check, I'm curious of your view. Again, I can't check Twitter right now because I'll leak too much information. But a 1x short, I've never actually heard of that. You know, I've never heard of that. Does it have a liquidation price? Can you get liquidated on that? That's what I'm interested in. I would rephrase then to kind of cover that. Any investment or trade in which you can get liquidated, I would never take. That's what I'd say. Should always leave some money on the sidelines, for sure, 100%. You should never be all in on anything. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Never, never, never be all in on anything. Right? Not a coin, I mean crypto in general. Terrible idea. I was going to hold for a long time. Well, if you look, yeah, I want to sell some at a dead cat bounce. I was hoping for 44K to 47K. That might not happen, AZ. You know, it could happen for sure, but it might not. And look, if you're going to hold for a long time, you're happy with being at a loss. You know, I would say that's fine. You know, you don't need to sell. As long as you have money to buy as well, like as long as you didn't just go all in, as long as you have money on the sidelines to buy when it does go lower, if it does go lower, that's good. That's a bonus. But if you're in for the long run, you know, sure, that's up to you, man. In my 47K will be the roof, so you think we're going to dead cat to 47K? I mean, it's very possible. I mean, I assume what you're looking at by going, you know, with that opinion is the volume profile. Volume profile's got the POC at 47K, which means that the most amount of trading contention is happening at 47K, and that means that, you know, you're very likely to reject from 47K. And so, you know, I assume that's what you're looking at. Very likely, you know, very possible. But I think that, you know, I think personally we've just seen the dead cat bounce and we're going to reject even further here. But, you know, I could see it happening for sure. Anything under 48K, I could see happening. Where are you looking to realistically buy into Bitcoin? 200-week SMA. If you've watched any of my videos on Bitcoin previously, literally any of my videos, I constantly say, and even at the start of this live stream, go back and watch it. I think that the 200-week SMA is the next step for Bitcoin. When that happens, could be as early as March, as late as November. And that's around 20 to 24K. Dude, you have given us so much. Thanks so much for this. That's okay. All right, let's look at the stock market quickly. I might wrap it up because my voice is literally dying. You might be able to sense I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Stock market looks okay. You know, we've broken back above support here, which is good to see. 1 day, 20 hours. So we've got 2 days left, 2 closes left until we close that candle. We want to see a close happen above 4,500 for the stock market. If we close below 4,500, what I would be seeing is a head and shoulders pattern, and I'd be seeing a crash imminent for the stock market. Now, the reason why the stock market, the S&P 500, is going well is because interest rates have not been risen yet. Now, we had a meeting with the Federal Reserve about a couple of weeks ago here on Bitcoin, on the stock market regarding interest rates. Federal Reserve regarding interest rates. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago. For those of you who don't know, if you have high interest rates, basically it challenges inflation, but stock market growth kind of goes down. And if you have low interest rates, which we have right now, massively low interest rates in the USA, you have massive stock growth, but inflation is allowed to run rampant. And that's what you're seeing right now, where the stock market has grown almost 2x or more than 2x in a period of literally 2 years, which is unheard of, very unheard of. 100% in 2 years doesn't happen. And so, we're seeing that exponential growth, and that's because interest rates are very low and inflation is very high. And inflation obviously is tied into money printing. The government, the Federal Reserve, is endlessly printing dollars and filtering into the stock market to pump up the prices of the stocks at the expense of the middle class. And so when March comes along and interest rates are risen, they have to be risen eventually. If they are risen in March, we're going to see a stock market correction, and we're going to see Bitcoin go down even more. But as of right now, they've maintained the status quo. They haven't risen the interest rates yet, and so the stock market will be allowed to do its own thing for a while. What do you think about the wormhole bridge hack today? It's looking peak for Solana. Yeah, well, I don't really have any thoughts on it, but stuff like this is really inevitable, to be honest. And yeah, I think that Solana, the top was in 100%. I mean, I've looked at the Solana pretty extensively. I mean, the weekly chart's a good example of what's going on with Solana. Let's look at the daily. We see an upwards trending line. This yellow line here, upwards trending. We lost that, rejected off of it, head back down. We're in a cup formation right now, cup and handle formation. Cup and handle formations are great to see, but they're also patterns of continuation. And since the trend is downwards, we'll probably head further downwards into the support zone. I would imagine that Solana would actually go downwards towards 60 USD. On the previous live stream, I think I said Solana will head upwards to around, I can't remember exactly, but I think we were at around 90, and I said we'll head upwards for a bit. We did head upwards for a bit. We're rejecting now. And yeah, I think the bottom of this major support is the next step. 60 USD in Solana within a month, in my opinion. Damn, you really think it's going to the 200 week? Yes, I do. I have plenty of reasons to that, all of which have been outlined quite clearly in previous Bitcoin videos and at the start of this live stream. But I would explain them again, but I'm feeling very sore voice. I'm very tired as well. Slept for like 3 hours last night. But ultimately, you can go back, start of a live stream, watch that analysis. I'll upload it to YouTube later as well. So if you come back to YouTube in a few hours, I'll have that uploaded for you, and you can look at that. But I think the evidence is undeniable. You're a good dude, Wolf. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks, Don. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all your support. So, just before we wrap it up here, if you have any more questions, chuck them in the chat, and I'll answer those before I head off here. But I'll look at Ethereum quickly. Ethereum, I always struggle to think about Ethereum because there's not really much to talk about on Ethereum ever. Because Ethereum just, it's all well and good, but it kind of follows. Just like altcoins, but Ethereum on a macro scale looks exponentially worse than Bitcoin in my opinion. So what we're seeing on Ethereum, a long-term ascending wedge formation, I still think it's worth talking about because it's still prominent. All we need to do with this ascending wedge formation is say we've break to the downside, which is expected, and we need to take a measured move from the top to the bottom, all right? So we can see, if we take it to the breakout point, we can see that Ethereum, this ascending wedge formation on Ethereum is targeting 1,200 USD. Okay? 1,200 USD is also coincidentally the POC on Ethereum. So 1,200 USD is the next step for Ethereum. Easily, it's very easy to see that based on the macro scale. We've broken below the ascending wedge, broken below support in the meantime, and 1,200 is the next step according to the wedge and also according to the POC. We'll see that on Ethereum, I've previously said 1,400 to 1,700. I still stand by that to an extent, but I think that we'll wick down to 1,200 for sure. But yeah, no, Ethereum doesn't look good. We're currently just breaking above support right now. We've retested the support. This is again support, right? So we've actually flipped this zone for support, which is good. But as to whether I think it will hold, I don't. I have to say I don't because, I think Bitcoin's going to go down to 33K at a minimum in the next couple of weeks here. So why would Ethereum stabilize while Bitcoin's going down? Doesn't make sense. I think they will drop back below. Yeah. We're in a bear market. Alt's dropping 10% and then going up 10%. You end up losing 1% in value. This repeats on and on and on. Yeah. It's a slow kind of draining out. This one hasn't been as slow as the last ones. Previous ones, this bear market has dropped down quite quickly. Previous bear markets, it takes a long time. I'm happy it's going down quickly. It means we can get back up faster. I understand, but don't you think the 200-week SMA won't get front run from 25 to 30k? No, I don't think that at all. I think that looking at Bitcoin, and we looked at this before, but we'll look at it again just for you, mate. Looking at Bitcoin, there's not much support other than 30k. 30k is the only real support zone, right? The 200-week SMA is at 19k right now, or 20k, somewhere in that region, right? So 30k and 20k, they're about 33% apart from each other. That's a big drop. That's a big gap in between. And so, 25k isn't really a support. There's 24k as a support. And the 20-week SMA, the 200-week SMA could actually be at 24k by the time we get there. It depends on when we get there. But do I think we're going to bottom at 30k? No, I don't really think that. I think we're going to drop below 30k. And if you think we're going to drop below 30k, you have to think that we're going to go to at least 24k, right? Because 24k is the next support zone below 30k. And if you think we're going to go to 24k, you have to remember that the 200-week SMA would be at that price or like 20%, 10% below it by the time we get there. And so thinking we won't go to the 200-week is kind of illogical. I hope you understand what I mean. Question, have you dismissed your dead cat bounce scenario 2 already? No. I haven't dismissed anything. I assume you mean this chart. No, I haven't dismissed this orange scenario. I still think it could potentially happen. It really does depend. The DXY is dumping right now, which means that the US dollar is losing value, which is typically good for Bitcoin. And so there is a case to be made that it could happen. But I think that before it happens, we will see one more retest to the bottom of this channel. And that's if it does happen, right? But I think that right now, we are coming down for one more swing to the bottom of the channel. Now, whether we break out above the channel and see a dead cat bounce past that point is up for speculation, up for interpretation. But right now, I think that we will reject down. We're coming to 30k, 33k next. But, orange scenario could take place. It could just play out later. Do you think when the altcoin season comes that Theta and TFU can recover to their all-time highs? Yes. But the altcoin season, I don't think is going to happen until the next cycle. But in the next bull cycle, I 100% have no doubt that Theta will go to new all-time highs. I really do like Theta. I think it has a strong use case. And I think that it is reasonable to assume that 4 years is a short enough period of time that not much would have changed in the current market environment and that Theta would still be relevant. But, would I be willing to bet on it? No, not currently. I need to be seeing what's going to be happening when the bottom is in. I can answer all these questions now, in February 2022, but at the end of the day, the bottom could be in as late as November. That's 10 months away, and a lot can change in the market in 10 months. But, in terms of buying in the bottoms, I would be happy to buy in the bottom for Theta right now if the bottom was in right now. But the problem is it's not in right now, so we can't make that decision right now. Now, when the bottom does come in for Bitcoin and Ethereum, when that happens, I will be making extensive videos on altcoins, which altcoins I like fundamentally that I think are good for the next bull market. I'll be buying those at the bottoms. But as of right now, I can't answer those questions right now. If I had to guess, I'd say yes, but I'm not guessing. I'm waiting for concrete evidence. I hope you know what I mean. All altcoin charts look like blow-off tops. Exactly, yeah. We've seen altcoin season in this cycle. It happened in May. And for Solana and stuff, it happened in September, October. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm getting pretty tired with my voice and in general. The thing with being in a crypto market, guys, if you want to be doing this full time, I'm sure many of you already have this problem. You guys, you just completely lose all remnants of a sleep cycle. That's probably the worst part about it. But other than that, I like the lifestyle. Working for yourself is always great. I think a lot of people would aspire to work for yourself, and I think the cryptocurrency gives that opportunity to millions of people. Obviously, not every single person can run a YouTube channel and be successful. I wouldn't even consider this a successful channel yet. I think that, I can get to that point. I have the potential to get to that point, but we'll see what happens, right? I think that with my channel, a lot of people don't like it because they don't like to hear the objective reality of a situation. Obviously, there is subjectiveness to technical analysis, but a lot of it is about objectiveness. And when you're looking at something like Bitcoin yesterday, let's look here. You're looking at something like Bitcoin yesterday. We're in an ascending wedge formation against resistance lines. That's all you need to know that it's a 95% chance we're going to break downside. That's an objective point of view. That's not subjective. Now, what is subjective is I think that Bitcoin's going to go to 20K. That's subjective, right? Me saying that is subjective. I don't think it's going to go to 20K. I think 20 to 24K, but just like for argument's sake, if I said Bitcoin's going to go to 5K, that's an opinion, okay? But if I say Bitcoin's in a ascending wedge formation, it looks bad, that's an objective reality based off mathematics. So I think a lot of people don't like to hear the objective realities. And that's why this channel, I think, will have a hard time to grow. I think I'm too honest. Do you see Bitcoin market recovering back to its all-time high, wherever that is, or do you think that there will have to be a major catalyst? Yeah, I think it recovered back to its all-time high, of course. Like, I think Bitcoin is a long-term investment. For sure, I think it will be I think Bitcoin, in terms of any asset, any financial market, and cryptocurrency in general, has the highest chance of being around in 100 years, for sure. I think that Bitcoin will go to an all-time high. I struggle to believe that it will happen within the next year. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Yeah, I haven't slept in all of 2021 because of crypto. Welcome to the club, man. Like, I literally, I think I get probably, like, on average, probably 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night. Very, very bad for your health, and that's why I like bear markets. It gives you an opportunity to rest a little bit. Thanks, and hydrate. Yeah, I appreciate that, Anton. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry for being a little bit brief today. My voice, I just can't. I don't know what's going on. I think I might have got a little bit of COVID here. I have been a close contact case, and so I might have picked up a little bit of a COVID case here, which is, just great, isn't it? I love being sick. Not very fun, but thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next live stream. Hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better. I hope I answered as many questions as possible for you guys. Hope I was helpful. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next live stream or video.